Cannibalism has become a popular focus in Hollywood horror films due to the gruesome nature of this horrific practice. A few more prominent movies have featured a character known to many as Hannibal Lecter. This is a name with terrible connotations of gruesome imagery.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
However, when compared with the exploits of one Mr. Sawney Bean, it may appear more appropriate to rename him Hannibal the Mediocre. Little is known for certain about his early life. However, Sawney Bean is believed to have been born in East Lothian in Scotland during the 15th century. He was originally a tanner by trade. The early days of his life are far less documented compared to the later years following his relocation across the country to settle in Ayrshire, where he also held his wedding. The newlywed Mr. and Mrs. Sawney Bean set up at home at Benane Cave by Ballantry in Ayrshire, Scotland. Benane Cave was rather an imposing abode with tunnels penetrating the solid rock and extending for more than a mile in length. In addition, the accommodation featured lots of side passages where a young couple could extend into and convert over the next 25 years to accommodate a growing family. The cave's entrance was flooded for several hundred metres twice a day at high tide, a nice natural wind blocking feature. Lacking a trade, it was Sawney's plan to support his new wife on the proceeds of robbery. It proved a simple enough matter to ambush travellers on the lonely narrow roads that connected the villages of the area. Then it dawned on him that in order to help make sure that he could never be identified for his crimes, he should murder his victims. To avoid these unnecessary visits to the shops for provisions, whilst at the same time disposing of any evidence, he came on the bright idea of butchering the bodies to provide a high-protein diet of human meat for himself and his wife. The high-protein diet seemed to have been effective as Mrs. Bean began to produce little baby beans, 14 little beanie babies in total, each with a very unhealthy appetite for human flesh. As the beanie babies grew up, and in turn, through incest, produced beanie babies of their own, their cooking pots increased in size dramatically. Over 2 decades, generations of beanie babies grew up in Benane Cave, refining their skills of murder and cannibal cuisine, including the now lost art of salting and pickling the flesh. Finds of curiously preserved but decaying body parts were discovered washed up on the surrounding beaches in the area. The local authorities had by now established what must have been, and what must still be to this date, the longest missing persons list ever produced. Although mass searches of the area were carried out in order to locate either the missing people or their murderers, nobody ever thought to search the depths of Benane Cave. As the years went by, the family grew older and, thanks to their high-protein diet, bigger, and as the family grew, so did their appetite. As many as half a dozen victims would be ambushed and killed at a time in military-style operations by the Sawney Bean army. The bodies were taken back to the cave to be carefully prepared for the larder by the womenfolk. However, even in the best planned operations, things sometimes go wrong. It happened one evening for the Sawney Bean army when they attacked a man and his wife as they were returning home from a nearby fair. One group pulled the woman from her horse and had her stripped and disemboweled before the other group had the chance to wrestle the man to the ground. Realising the fate that was about to fall him, he fought desperately to escape, driving his horse into and over his attackers. As he fought for his life, a group of 20 or so people, also returning from the fair, happened upon the scene. After a brief and violent exchange, the Sawney Bean army found itself for the first time ever at a numerical disadvantage and promptly retreated back to the cave to consider the situation. As they retreated, they left behind the mutilated body of a woman as evidence, a score of witnesses, and one very angry husband. This man was taken before the Chief Magistrate of Glasgow, who, after hearing the tale and putting this together with his longest missing persons list ever, and the many reports of the mysterious pickled body parts, decided to take the matter straight to the top. King James promptly arrived in Ayrshire with a small army of 400 men and a pack of tracker dogs, and together with a band of local volunteers, searched one of the biggest manhunts the country had ever seen. The search extended through the Ayrshire countryside and coastline, and like before, nothing was discovered. That was, however, until the dogs picked up the scent of decaying human flesh while passing a partly waterlogged cave. The manhunt was closing in. By torchlight, the troops entered Benin Cave, and with swords drawn, they proceeded down the mile-long, twisting passage to the inner depths of the Sawney Bean family lair. Nothing could have prepared them for the sight that they witnessed that day. The damp walls of the cave were strewn in row upon row of human limbs and body parts, like meat hanging in a butcher's shop. Other areas of the cave stored bundles of clothing, piles of watches and rings, and heaps of discarded bones from previous meals. After a brief fight, the entire Sawney Bean family, all 48 of them, were arrested and marched off to Edinburgh by the king himself. Their crimes were considered so heinous that the normal justice system, for which Scotland is renowned, was abandoned, and the entire family were sentenced to death. The following day, the 27 men of the family met a fate similar to that of many of their victims, by having their legs and arms cut off and being left to slowly bleed to death, watched by their own women. These women, 21 of them, were then burned like witches in huge fires. And so the ballad of Sawney Bean records their end. They've hung them high in Edinburgh town, and likewise all their kin, and the wind blows cold on all their bones, and to hell they all have gone. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out our channel for more creepy stories and scary videos. Until next time.